October is National Domestic Violence Month, which is a national campaign dedicated to raising awareness about domestic violence. There is an uptick in property crimes in fall and winter months, which can lead to violent crimes by both strangers and affiliates. However, since domestic violence is a year-round global occurrence, for the purpose of this video, I'm going to focus on domestic violence. Domestic violence is defined as physical, sexual, emotional, economic, or psychological aggressive behavior or abuse within the home, typically involving the violent abuse of a spouse or partner, affecting men, women, and children. Some research distinguishes between different types of violence. For example, intimate terrorism, characterized by a pattern of coercive control, is almost always perpetrated by men. In contrast, situational couple violence can be initiated more equally by men and women. According to the National Library of Medicine, many studies have concluded that men and women engage in domestic violence at equal levels, indicating gender symmetry in domestic violence. However, the gender-specific risk factors for domestic violence perpetration are necessary to examine. Since domestic violence against women often lead to more long-term and/or permanent effects, male perpetrators are responsible for the more severe and controlling forms of violence. Thus, other studies show a significant imbalance indicating gender asymmetry in domestic violence. According to the National Domestic Violence Hotline, women experience domestic violence at a higher rate than men do. Thus, this series of videos will be targeted towards educating women and girls on the risks, warning signs, and dangers of domestic violence. Factors influencing this data include motivation, study methodology, and victim-offender prior relationships. When women perpetrate violence, it is often in self-defense or in response to a coercive control by a male partner. Male perpetration is often linked to entitlement and a need for power and control. Different studies use varying research methods and samples leading to different findings. Self-reported data may differ from victim-reported or legal data. All data findings support claims that women are more likely to be killed by an intimate partner, family member, or acquaintance, whereas men are more often killed by strangers. Victim-offender prior relationships are more prevalent with women. So what does this mean? Women are more likely to be killed by someone they know. 89% of female victims are murdered by someone they knew, such as an intimate partner, family member, roommate, prior companion, previous friend, or other cohabitant. Women of indigenous or aboriginal descent, usually classified as women of color, face a disproportionately higher risk of being murdered. Types of violence include physical violence, sexual violence, stalking, psychological abuse, college violence, dating violence, murder by a partner, military violence, and faith community violence. For the purpose of this video, I'm going to label women of color as Aboriginal women and American Indian/Alaskan Native women as AIAN women. AIAN women report the highest lifetime prevalence of intimate partner violence, rape, physical violence, or stalking. Black women face disproportionately high rates of physical violence, sexual violence, including rape and murder by an intimate partner. The data shows that 57% of college students report experiencing dating violence and abuse during college. College violence includes on or off-campus violence towards a person who officially enrolled in college or those who are in campus-related areas or who engage in campus-related activities. Biracial and multiracial women often have among the highest predicted probabilities of experiencing sexual misconduct across racial categories as it relates to college violence. White women college students also often report relatively high prevalence, sometimes close to or just below multiracial women, in many studies conducted on college violence. AN women and Black women show particularly high rates of physical and sexual violence. AN women and Black women experience high rates of stalking. Black women experience significantly higher rates of psychological abuse than other groups. Black women are at a particularly high risk of being murdered by an intimate partner. Dating violence statistics includes violence amongst parties who currently or previously dated. Analyzing 31,206 Philadelphia police documented forms from the year 2013, the Penn researchers found that 82.1% of intimate partner violence incidents included current or former dating partners. Less than 15% involved current spouses, and just 3.5% involved ex-spouses. Nationally, more than half of intimate violence incidents are reported to police, with 54% involving current or former boyfriends or girlfriends. Domestic violence against women in the military may include a vast combination of sexual assault, rape, sexual harassment, psychological abuse, rank disruptions, and military hazing. Military women may be confined to military living quarters and not exclusively in a home environment with their partner, as most domestic violence victims are. When these women become victims of DV, they are often exposed to harsh criticism and/or additional abuse from their comrades and/or commanding officers, sometimes resulting in a predisposed pattern of violence that can appear to be more systemic and widespread. Data indicates that white women in the military experience the highest rates of sexual harassment, while Black women veterans were more likely to report intimate partner physical assault during service. Violence in the faith is one of the most underreported violence types. Women and girls of many faith-based communities experienced domestic violence. This includes Christians, Jews, Muslims, and Buddhists, to name several. It is important to note that many religious doctrines and texts do not condone this behavior, but oftentimes the religious leader has condoned a false interpretation of their religion to the congregation, resulting in immoral behaviors being excused or dismissed by a prayer, testimony, or confession. Speaking up within these institutions often result in victim blaming, leading to shaming and shunning of the victim towards the victim, and sometimes towards the victim's family. This form of bullying is cultural betrayal. In many religious and faith-based communities, the designated deities, doctrine, literature, leaders, and officials are males and male-derived, leading to the edification of males' voices and opinions. This often results in women either not coming forward, women not being believed when they do come forward, or women being coerced into self-masochism to oblige the male ideological indulgence of their God's powers. Specific statistics on women's endured domestic violence history from within religious organizations and institutions are not always publicly available due to underreporting and institutional secrecy. For instance, it is not possible to determine the exact number of children sexually abused by priests, but reports from individual countries detail widespread abuse affecting hundreds of thousands of children over many decades. The figures are considered underestimates, as many victims never come forward. One common example of culpability, the Catholic Church's practice of covering up abuse and moving abusive priests to new parishes. These types of practices have exacerbated the problem. The types of violence explained in this video do not cover the entire list, but does give an accurate representation of most known and categorized patterns of abuse. Many of the types of violence are interwoven, and some offer unique variances, such as the military and faith-based domestic violence types. If you suspect that someone is experiencing domestic violence, contact the Domestic Violence Hotline. If you are a victim of domestic violence, get out when and where it is safest to do so. It is not advised that third parties involve themselves in domestic violence situations, as the situation can turn hostile towards the third party, and oftentimes the victim will side with their abuser. The best thing a witness or third party can do is to speak up and remove themselves from the situation, and reach out to law enforcement and the Domestic Violence Hotline. There are verbal and physical cues that domestic violence victims can display to let others know they are seeking assistance. Stay aware of the cues and do what you can to help when it is safe and necessary to do so. Keep reminding yourself that it does not matter what you look like, what you say, where you go, how late you stay out, what you wear, nor how you look at a person. No one has the right to put their hands on you. Never be the aggressor by words or actions, and always be prepared to defend yourself. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And for more information, stay tuned in.